Can you think of something in your life you wish a computer could do for you? Scheduling appointments or sifting through data doesn't have to be as time-consuming as it used to be. AI tools are now advanced enough to complete these tasks in less time with fewer mistakes. That's exactly why I've decided to master automation tools like Make.com. Instead of wishing my computer can handle these repetitive tasks, I'm learning to build those automations myself. Continuing my education with Make Academy, today's lesson is their second foundation course, which focuses on expanding my first scenario. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so we're back in the Make Academy website in the foundation section, and we're on expanding my first scenario. All right, so the introduction for this course says, welcome to expanding my first scenario course in Make Foundations. This learning content will build on the previous course, ensure that you have completed setting up my first scenario before you attempt this course. This course will explore the following topics: adding a router, adding a filter, more options with filters, overview of scheduling, and run once. Welcome to the first unit in expanding my first scenario course in your Make Foundation learning journey. By now, you should have a working scenario from your previous course, setting up my first scenario. The aim of this course is to add more steps to the scenario you already created, so you can advance your knowledge and understanding of Make. In this unit, you'll do that by adding a router. About routers. What is a router? A router is a native Make tool that allows you to branch your workflows onto separate paths or routes. Routers are useful for processing data towards separate outputs and process data differently depending on your needs. Why would you use a router? In the scenario you created before, the weather app passes information to a Google Sheet. Simultaneously, you could use a router to process the information in a different format. For example, to a messaging service like Slack or Microsoft Teams. In this example, we'll use the weather app as the source module, as it contains data about the weather. The destination app for the weather data is Google Sheets, but thanks to the router, we can add other destination apps, such as a messaging service app. So we learned about source and destination modules in the previous course. Routers in theory. Let's look at how the previous example would work visually. The weather data is processed and creates a bundle. This is sent to the router, which processes it towards the two destination modules. First, the data is passed to the Google Sheets module, where it will perform the action add a row. Finally, the data is passed to the Slack module, where it will perform the action create a message. Now that we have explored the concept, let's implement something similar. Note, whilst we have not yet explored operations usage in Make, it's worth knowing that a router will not consume any operations. So routers and other tools like this, which we'll get into later, don't consume operations. Adding a router, method 1, pre-existing modules. Step 1, right-click the path between the two modules and select add a router. This will insert the router tool between the two modules. So you can see, if you right-click it, you could just add it, just like we can unlink it. So I'm going to our scenario that we created, the Make Foundations use case. I'm just gonna right-click here, and you can see it says add a router. Simple as that. Step 2, now that your router is in place, hover over your newly placed router module. You will notice that a plus state appears. Select this. It will add a placeholder for our new module. Note, you can select this multiple times to add multiple placeholders. So when you click the plus inside the router module, however many times you press it, will add placeholder apps. Step 3, for the purpose of your scenario, select the placeholder for the new module and add another Google Sheets add a row module to your scenario. Configure your new Google Sheets module the same as the previous module and click OK. So it wants us to add another Google Sheets, add a row, and then just configure exactly the same as the last one. So we're gonna do that real quick. Just click this plus, add a Google Sheets, add a row. My account is already connected. All we have to do is add a spreadsheet, Make Foundations use case, sheet name 1, and that's it. Save the scenario. Step 4, An alternative approach here is to right-click the clone your add a row module. This will save the configuration. By dragging your newly cloned module near the router, it will automatically connect to it. Okay, well, that's a lot easier to do. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that would have been so much more easier. So we can literally just right-click to clone it, and it'll just be the exact same configuration. Adding a router, method 2. Adding a router from tools / plus module. Option 1, from your flow control located under tools in the scenario editor, select router and drag to connect it to the source module. When selecting the plus icon within the module, this will create a placeholder for your destination modules. So you can click it from tools as well, and just add it from that. Option 2, hover over any module and select add another module option. Search for routers or flow control and select router from the list. So there's just multiple ways you can add a router. You can find it in the list of apps and the flow control, and you can just right click in between modules. In which order will the data be processed? To visualize the order of the data flow, select the explain flow item under controls. This will visually illustrate the route the data in your scenario will follow. You can set the order of routes in which make processes them in the scenario. So if we go to explain flow, like we introduced last course, it will show you the destination in the order that it goes into first. So if you were to have this scenario, it would go to the top module first and then go to the second module. And you can also see the order here. To see how to do this, click here. You can set the order of routes in which they will be processed in your scenario. Right-click the router module and select order routes. Set your desired order by clicking the arrow up, down, and save it by clicking apply. You can also use auto align arranges with set order. This will visually arrange modules on the scenario canvas according to the set order. So you can change the order as well by just right clicking the router module, and you can see that it's literally just straightforward. You can just switch it back and forth, or you can auto align. So if I go here, right click, order routes, you can see I can change the order by grabbing this and just dragging it. Or if I click that, say this is like over here, and it's like weird looking. If I click this, apply, it'll switch them. Before you finish, you have almost completed this unit. Great work. Before you finish, let's do a quick check of how your scenario should look. This is important as you will be adding more to this in the next unit. If your scenario does not match this setup, please repeat from here. You should have a weather app that provides information on the by location / city. Next is a router that has 2 routes. Finally, you should have 2 Google Sheets add a row modules, each containing identical mappings. So yeah, just make sure you have the information from the A through D columns that we put in the first Google Sheets module. And that's the end of the unit. We're gonna go on to unit 2, which is adding a filter. Welcome to the second unit of the Expanding My First Scenario course. You will notice that your scenario is really starting to expand. In the previous unit, you learned how to implement a router into your scenario. This was an important step as it outlines the aim for this unit, add a filter. As in the previous unit, ensure that you have your Make Foundations use case open. What is a filter? A filter is a tool that allows specific data to be passed or restricted within the flow of a scenario. Filters will provide you with an idea of how to start controlling and manipulating data. For example, a social media account could generate and save posts if they contained the words make.com. To describe this in real-world terms is to think of attending a concert. Only those with a ticket will be allowed in. Those without a ticket cannot enter. Your filter here would be if person has a ticket, let them in. Let's build on this. Click next. What kind of information can be filtered? Basic operators. Data will be passed through the filter if it does or does not exist. Example, pass data in your scenario if the word make exists in an email address. Text operators. Text operators give us many options to work with. Let's use the example of a social media post. A scenario watches a social media account for posts and can filter data that contains text, equal to Make Academy, or contains the word Make Academy, or does not contain the word Make Academy, or starts with the word hello. Numeric operators. Numeric operators are useful for returning numeric values. Let's consider the use of your Make Foundation scenario. Your scenario watches the weather and can filter data based on the temperature if it is equal to 20 degrees, or greater than 20 degrees, or less than 15 degrees, or greater than or equal to 25 degrees, or less than or equal to 10 degrees. Date time operators. Date time operators will filter results based on a defined time. As an example, imagine you have an e-commerce store. You want to filter orders made outside of your working hours so you can prioritize them the next day. You could filter later than 5 p.m. or earlier than 7 a.m. or later than or equal to 5 p.m. This would be useful for any orders made at exactly 5 p.m. Before you add your first filter, for the purpose of this next exercise, you will need to add 2 more sheets to Google Sheets. Open your Google Sheet named Make Foundations use case and add 2 additional sheets. Name these above 20 and equal to or below 20. You will find out why shortly. So it wants us to add these 2 other sheets to our Google Sheets that we created, above 20 and equal to or below 20. So I'm gonna go into here. Down here you can see where our sheet name is. We can add another sheet and another one. The second one we're gonna rename to above 20. Above 20. And third sheet equal to or below 20. Adding your first filter. Ways to add a filter. Filters can be added in 2 ways. 1. Left click on any route between 2 modules. This will automatically load the filter prompt. 2. Right click on any route between 2 modules and select Set up a filter. So you can either left click or right click and set up a filter that way. That's left click and that's right click. And it'll just have the filter options pulled up for you already. Configuring your filter. Notes. This brings up the filter configuration screen. The first editable field is label. This is not a required field, but it is strongly suggested that you add a label. It can be a name or description, which will be reflected on the scenario interface. Labels make your filters more organized, which make your life easier in case you need to make any changes to your scenario later. Add a label here called temperature above 20. So for the first filter, they want us to label it temperature above 20. So I'm gonna just left click here, label temperature above 20, save it. Adding conditions plus data types. Next, you are going to add a condition. As the label suggests, you want to add a condition that temperature is above 20. In the first condition field, map temperature. Here you will see other items that can be mapped as part of the filter. Note, it is useful to know what kind of data type you are working with for your filters. Hover over the field that you want to map to find out the data type. In the case here, you know that temperature is a numeric value. This is shown in the format of number. Other values here can be date and text. For example, you will learn more about data types in the next qualification. It wants us to add the temperature in the conditions field here. And it also is pointing out that when you hover over the data, it tells you the type of data it is. And in this case, for temperature, it is a number format. Let me just add that. Conditions, save the scenario too. Selecting an operator. Next, select the drop down below the field that you have mapped. By default, this will display as text operators equal to. Scroll down to numeric operators, greater than. Click this in order to populate the operator field. You can also search for your required operator by typing in the search field. Finally, in your last field, type 20. Click OK, make sure that you save your scenario. So it wants us to change our text operators equal to numeric operators greater than. And then we also need to type 20 in the last field. Text operators into numeric operators greater than, and then temperature, numeric operators greater than 20. Save it. Changing the destination of our course. The final step is to open our first Google Sheets Add a Row module. On the configuration screen, navigate to sheet name. You will notice in here there are now 3 sheets. Sheet 1, above 20, and equal to or below 20. Select above 20 and click OK. So it wants us to go to the first Google Sheet, and we're gonna change our sheet name from sheet 1 to above 20. And that's it for this page. This is how your scenario should look. Here is how your scenario should now look. You'll notice that the settings icon has changed from a wrench to a filter. For your next task, add a filter to the second module that adds temperature less than or equal to 20. When you have done this, click here to compare your scenario. It wants us to add the less than or equal to 20 to the second Google Sheets module. So we're gonna do that real quick. Just left click. So we're naming this temperature less than or equal to 20. We gotta change the condition to temperature, numeric operator to less than or equal to, and 20. Save it, save the scenario. And then it says to click here to see if we've done it right. And I mean, it doesn't go into here, but it looks good to me. You have now enhanced your scenario by adding filters. It will process information to 2 different sheets based on the values that you have specified. Click run once and see it in action. Go to your Google Sheet to see what happened. Note, here would be a great opportunity to try using the auto-align/explain flow tool in your scenario. This will give you an idea of the order in which your automation will be processed. So we can auto-align to make it look pretty. It already looks pretty, so it didn't do anything. And then we can explain flow to see which direction and which order the information is going. Click next. That's the end of the unit. Simple as that. All right, so we're gonna do this third one to finish off this video. The third unit is more options with filters. Welcome to the third unit of the Expanding My First Scenario course. By now you know what a filter is. This will be crucial for this unit, as you will spend some time expanding and enhancing your use of filters. The aim for this unit is to explore the and/or option within filters. Quick recap on your current filters. The current scenario you have built will filter data from the weather app on to 2 separate paths. If the temperature is above 20, it will pass to a sheet named above 20. If the temperature is equal to or below 20, it will filter to a different sheet named equal to or below 20. When you were configuring your filters previously, there were 2 options under condition that were previously ignored. These are add and rule and add or rule. You are now going to implement both of these filters shortly. Adding some and/or filters to your current scenario. Add and rule. Adding and will add an additional level of passing criteria to your filters. For your current scenario, your top filter will pass the data to the next module if the temperature is above 20. Using and, you could expand this to temperature is above 20 and status equals clouds, or and air humidity is greater than 50. The data will only be processed to the next module if it fulfills all 3 of the criteria. So it's trying to say that you can have more than one and rule here. So you can have and equals clouds and that's so weird to say. Also, and air humidity is greater than 50. And then all 3 of these would have to be met for the data to pass through the filter. Add or rule. Using or will add an additional option of filtering data. For your current scenario, your bottom filter will pass the data to the next module if the temperature is less than or equal to 20. Using or, you could have additional options such as temperature is equal to or less than 20 or status equals rain. And then you can also have or air humidity is less than 50. If the required data meets any of the criteria, it will be processed to the next module. So if you click add or rule, similar to the and rule, the or filters that you put here will make it so the data will pass even if it doesn't fulfill all of the criteria. It'll just have to fulfill one of the three or one of however many criteria you filter in. Adding and/or filters to your current scenario. Adding and. On the first filter that you labeled temperature above 20, select the filter to open the configuration screen. Under your first condition, select add and rule. This will create another condition window. And clicking on this shows you what it looks like when you click on it. Map status in the first field. For your operators, select text operators equal to, in the final field, type clouds. Note, the blue vertical line on the left side of the filter pop-up indicates that both conditions must be met. So go over to our scenario, go to the temperature above 20 filter. Here is the add and rule. We're gonna map status in this first field, status, and we're gonna put clouds. All right, looks good. Save it, save the scenario. Adding or. On the second filter that we labeled temperature less than or equal to 20, select the filter to open the configuration screen. Under your first condition, select add or rule. Like the previous step, this will create another condition window. Same thing, we're just clicking the or instead this time. Map status in the first field. For your operator, select text operators equal to. In the final field, type rain. Note, the blue line down the side of the screen is now split into two. This indicates that either condition can be met for the data to be processed. So we're gonna go into our scenario, go to our other filter here, our second one. We're gonna add a or rule. We're gonna map status again, and this time we're typing rain. Save it, save the scenario. Summarizing your module additions. You have now added another level of criteria to your filters within your scenario. The top module will process data if the temperature is above 20 and equal to clouds. The bottom module will process data if the temperature is less than 20 or equal to rain. Following up on our previous concert analogy, this is like saying you can enter if you have a ticket and you are wearing shoes. If you are not wearing shoes, but you have a ticket, you cannot come in. The next step is to run once. The output will vary based on what the weather is like where you are. So this is what our scenario should look like, which it does. And it wants us to run our scenario once. Click run once. Look at the results. The last thing to do is to run the scenario by clicking run once. Depending on where you are in the world or at what time, you will get a different result. The screenshot here reflects what happened when we ran our module. Because the temperature was less than 20, it filtered to the bottom module. Look closely at the filter icons. The bottom one reflects that one bundle of data was passed through this filter. The top filter did not meet the criteria and therefore was not processed. At this point, we recommend duplicating your scenario and playing with other outputs. For example, setting up additional tabs in your Google Sheet and adding criteria for different types of weather, temperature combinations. So if we go to our scenario, for my location, you can see that only data passed through the temperature above 20 degrees because of our filters and our criteria. And that's why it shows a 1 in this filter and not 1 in this filter. And if you click on it, you can see that it tells you that both of the criteria were met there. And this one shows different because they were in a different location. And that's it for the first 3 units. I'm probably gonna call it there. And next video, we can cover units 4 through 5, as well as going through the 10-question assessment. So that's gonna be it for these lessons today. As you can see, routers and filters are very useful for making sure the right information is going to the right place. We'll be exploring them in greater detail in later courses, but for now, you just need to know the basics. In the next video, we'll be covering scheduling and the run once feature within Make, and also completing the end of course assessment. But until then, if you found any of this interesting, please feel free to drop a like, comment your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button. That's gonna be it for me for today. Hope to see you in the next one. Take care.